We do anything for our dogs, right? They're our best friends. But sometimes they feel down. Let's learn the signs of a lonely dog. Okay, first up, let's talk about barking and howling. We all know dogs love to use their vocal cords, right? But there's a big difference between a happy woof when you come home and a never-ending howl fest that could wake the dead. If your dog is barking or howling more than usual, especially when you're not home, it's like they're sending up a flare signal saying, "Hey, hello, I'm over here and I'm bored out of my furry mind." Think about it, if you were home alone for hours on end with nothing to do, you'd probably start singing off key or talking to the plants too, right? It's the same thing for our dogs. They're social creatures, and they thrive on interaction. So when they're left alone for too long, they get bored, anxious, and a little lonely. And the way they tell us, by letting out those ear-piercing barks and howls, it's their way of trying to get your attention, even if you're miles away. All right, next up, we've got destructive behavior. You come home after a long day and bam, your favorite shoe is now a chew toy. Before you unleash your inner drill sergeant, ask yourself, could my dog be acting out because they're lonely? Sometimes our dogs express their loneliness and anxiety through destructive behavior. It's not that they're trying to be jerks. They're trying to cope with pent-up energy and frustration. So they chew, they dig. It's their way of saying, "Hey, pay attention to me." All right, have you ever noticed that your dog turns into your shadow the second you step foot in the house? I mean, they follow you everywhere. To the bathroom, to the kitchen, even to the dreaded laundry room. Well, as adorable, and let's be honest, sometimes annoying, as it can be, it could actually be a sign that your furry little stalker is feeling a tad lonely. Dogs are pack animals, and they crave companionship. So when they're feeling insecure or anxious about being alone, they tend to stick to their humans like glue. It's their way of saying, "Don't leave me. I feel safe and secure when I'm with you." And who can blame them? Being around their favorite person in the whole world is like a warm, fuzzy security blanket. So the next time your dog is glued to your side, resist the urge to yell, "Privacy, please!" Instead, give them a little extra love and attention. Chapter 4. Sleep changes. To sleep, perchance, to dream of your return. Okay, let's talk about sleep, or should I say, the lack thereof. Now, we all know dogs love to catch some Z's, right? But if you notice your pup is sleeping more than usual, or if they're suddenly napping in weird places like closets or under furniture, it could be a sign that they're feeling a little blue. When dogs are lonely, they often try to cope by withdrawing and isolating themselves. They might sleep more to escape the boredom or anxiety, or they might seek out small, confined spaces where they feel safe and secure. It's their way of creating a little den of comfort when they're feeling vulnerable. So if your dog is suddenly channeling their inner nap champion, it's worth considering if they might be feeling a little lonely. Chapter 5. Pacing and restlessness. The case of the canine can't sit still. All right, imagine this. You're stuck in a room with nothing to do, no one to talk to, and absolutely zero entertainment. You'd probably start pacing around like a caged tiger, right? Well, that's kind of what it's like for dogs when they're lonely and bored. They have all this pent-up energy and nowhere to direct it. So they pace, they circle, they basically turn into furry little tornadoes of restlessness. It's their way of trying to burn off steam and find some sort of stimulation in an otherwise unstimulating environment. So if you notice your dog is suddenly doing laps around the living room like they're training for the Iditarod, it might be time to up their enrichment game. Chapter 6. Change in play style. When the zoomies turn into the snoozies. Let's be real, one of the best things about having a dog is watching them go absolutely bonkers with joy during playtime. But if your usually playful pup is suddenly showing zero interest in their favorite toys or activities, it could be a sign that loneliness has taken hold. Dogs are social creatures, and they thrive on interaction, especially during playtime. So when they're feeling lonely or isolated, their usual zest for games and toys can dwindle. It's like the life has been sucked out of their favorite squeaky toy. They might even start to avoid playing with other dogs, which is a major red flag. Playtime is like a dog's social hour, so if they're not feeling it, it's time to dig a little deeper and figure out why. All right, let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, food. Now, dogs are notorious for having healthy appetites, but did you know that a loss of appetite can be a sign of loneliness? It's true. When dogs are feeling down in the dumps, they might not be as interested in food as usual. It's like their emotional state is putting a damper on their taste buds. They might pick at their food, or they might even refuse to eat altogether. Now, it's important to note that a loss of appetite can also be a sign of underlying health issues. So if you notice your dog isn't eating, it's always best to consult with your veterinarian. But if you've ruled out any medical concerns, loneliness could be the culprit. Okay, potty training. It's the bane of every dog owner's existence, right? But what if I told you that those accidents in the house might not be a sign of rebellion, but rather a cry for help? It sounds crazy, but loneliness and anxiety can actually cause dogs to have accidents, even if they're usually potty trained. When dogs are stressed out, it can disrupt their routines and lead to, shall we say, unforeseen circumstances on your rug. So, before you go into full-on drill sergeant mode, try to see things from your dog's perspective. They might be feeling insecure, anxious, and just plain lonely. Have you ever come home to find your dog snuggled up in your dirty laundry? Or maybe they've claimed your favorite sweater as their own personal chew toy? As weird as it sounds, it's actually a sign of love, and maybe a little bit of loneliness. Dogs rely heavily on their sense of smell, and your scent is like a beacon of comfort and security to them. So, when they're feeling lonely or anxious, they often turn to your belongings for a little olfactory reassurance. It's like they're surrounding themselves with your essence, even when you're not physically there. It's actually pretty sweet when you think about it. It's their way of feeling close to you, even when you're miles apart. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about excessive grooming. Now, we all love a good dog groom, but if you notice your pup is constantly licking, chewing, or even pulling at their fur, it could be a sign that they're feeling stressed, anxious, or, yep, you guessed it, lonely. Think of it this way. When you're stressed, you might bite your nails, twirl your hair, or even pick at your skin. Well, dogs groom themselves. It's their way of self-soothing and trying to cope with uncomfortable emotions. So if you notice your dog is looking a little too well groomed in certain areas, it's worth considering if they might be trying to tell you something. So there you have it, folks. 10 signs that your dog might be feeling a little lonely. Remember, our furry friends might not be able to speak our language, but that doesn't mean they don't have ways of communicating with us. By paying attention to their behavior and learning to read their subtle cues, we can make sure our beloved pups are living their best, most fulfilling lives. And let's be real, who doesn't want a happy, well-adjusted dog? So go forth and shower your furry friends with love, attention, and maybe even a few extra treats. They deserve it! If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.